Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Susan's Just Making It. I'm Susan, and as always, I'm here making stuff, messes, chaos, and just trying to make it through life. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time watching, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having an amazing day, and if you like today's video, that thumbs up button is right down here. It only takes a second to click the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you'd consider doing so. It's the red subscribe button, and next to that's the notification bell that you can hit, and then you'll know every time I upload a new video. So today's video, I'm going to do a get ready with me and just chat a little bit about things while I throw some makeup on my face before I go out into the kitchen to bake some cookies. It is my youngest son's birthday today. He is turning 23, and I've got mixed feelings about that. I'm really happy that it's his birthday, but at the same time, the older my kids get, the older I feel. I don't really feel so old most of the time until I see how old they're getting. So I'm starting off with my brows being cleaned up, and I used my Winky Lux Unibrow pencil, and I just primed my eyes with this Wet n Wild Photo Focus eyeshadow primer. So I'm using pretty much affordable products today, and I'm just going to go ahead and dive in and get started and see what I can do with my face before I get started with my day. So like I mentioned, it's my youngest son's birthday, and you know, when I look in the mirror, I don't feel that old, and in my thoughts, I don't feel that old, but then my body says, listen, old lady, you're old. But like I said, I'm usually don't really feel too old unless my body's not cooperating, but I see my kids getting older, and it just kind of, I don't know, hits home a little bit more, I guess. I'll be turning 51 in just a few days, and like I said, the numbers don't mean that much to me until I start seeing the numbers with my kids getting older. And today I'm using the Profusion Harvest palette. This is a palette that my sister got me for my birthday, and I've been dying to try it out, so I thought today would be a good day to go ahead and do that. But like I said, the kids getting older is where my age starts hitting home. And my kids are always picking on me about that I'm old. And I said, you know what? Maybe I am, but it beats the alternative. And not only that, but some people don't get the privilege of growing old. So when you put things into perspective, it's not that bad, and hopefully a little bit of wisdom comes with age. Not necessarily for all people, but we would like to hope that that's the case. So like I said, with the numbers creeping up there, my daughter will be turning 30 next month, and that's what really kills me. You know, when I hit 30, it was like I really didn't care, and even when I hit 50, originally the first few days it was like, oh my goodness. But it's, yeah, it's okay. But the thought that I have a child that's going to be heading into the 30s, that's a killer right there. So yeah, the only thing I don't like about this palette so far is that there's not a mirror. So I have to use my hand mirror. And I'm just going in with this little peachy color here. I'm trying to build up a little bit of a transition shade. Yeah, so my daughter is going to be turning 30. She's married but doesn't have any children. She's kind of like trying to experience life a little bit, and that's all good. And then my oldest son just turned 26 on Tuesday the 14th, and he said last year he was having his quarter century crisis. I'm like, don't even go there. I said, last year I'm like, I just hit 50. He's like, that's different, you're old. I'm like, gee, thanks. So, and my youngest son, today's the 19th, and he's turning 23. So that kind of hits me too. My oldest hitting that 30, and my baby, he hates it when I still call him my baby, but my baby's, just turned 23 today. So it's like, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I've enjoyed watching them grow and stuff like that. But the numbers climbing up there, I feel like they're getting away from me, I guess you'd say. A lot of people, I always have some sarcastic stuff to say all the time, and people ask me sometimes, they'll be like, don't you miss when your kids were little? I don't even let them finish. I'm like, no. No. But that's a lie, because, I mean, I don't know, there's good and bad in all of that. Just trying to find a brush that I like here. I mean, I had a lot of responsibility when they were young, and being a single parent for the most part, it was difficult at times. I will admit that. I think I'm going to try to go in with this like tealy shade here and go over my crease a tiny bit. It was difficult, and there were challenges, and that's why when I say no, that's what I mean, because my boys were a handful. My daughter, not so much. My boys were a handful. And if stress made you age, raising those boys, I should look like I'm about 150, because yeah, they raising them was definitely a challenge most days. But I mean, in a lot of ways I don't miss when they were younger, because it was such a responsibility, and as they were getting older, it was nice when they were becoming more independent. But those teenage years, oh my goodness, I didn't know if any of us were going to survive. Some days I felt like it's you or me. But we made it through. And you know, I complain sometimes when I find a gray hair. If stress caused gray hair, my hair would be completely white. But you know, parenting has its ups and downs and stuff, and I can look back now and laugh at things that weren't so funny at the time. Like, my kids, we had our humorous moments. I mean, they were something else. Some of the things they would do and say and things like that. Like, I remember, it's funny because how things come full circle sometimes. Not sure how I feel about that yet, but we'll see. Actually, the apartment I'm in now, I lived in when my kids were younger. I moved in here when my youngest was not even a year old. I think he was like 9 or 10 months old. And I lived here for about 5 years, and then I moved into a house, and then from there I moved into another house. And then I tried to go to North Carolina, and it didn't work out, and I ended up back here, and I'm back in the same apartment. It's where networking and staying on good terms with people helps, because I had a place to live when I came back. So it's funny about coming full circle. And it's funny that my sister lives downstairs, and she lived downstairs also when my kids were young, and she's moved other places and came back. It's just funny that way. But we laugh sometimes when we start telling old stories. Like, she tells me about this time that somebody came knocking on her door. Apparently my sons had gotten in the back of somebody's pickup truck, and they were knocking on her door, and they're like, "Lady, your son." She was naming my son's stuck to the lady upstairs, and I'm like, thanks for throwing me under the bus, you know. So I'm gonna go in with this little tan color and go under my brow a little bit. So I'm like, geez, thanks for, you know, looking me out and stuff like that. And we laugh about it. She says the same thing. She's like, I don't know how you survived your boys. And like I said, they did funny things, but it was up and down. Like, we've had our trials and stuff like that. Like my youngest son that just turned 23 today, he was in an accident when he was 5. I almost lost him to a near drowning accident. I was at work. It was on a holiday, and there was only, I think, a half day of school or something like that, and they were in an after school program. And I remember that I had to pick them up from school and take them to the facility, and I'm not going to name the facility, it's, you know, pretty common facility, and drop them off. And I had just gotten back to work, and I was I'm going to use a detail brush. I was training for the bookkeeping position where I worked, and I just gotten back to work after dropping them off, and I just got a deposit together, and I was across the street at the bank making the deposit, and I came back, and my coworker was running down the hallway saying, we have to go, and I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, there's been an accident. She says, one of your sons has been in an accident. I'm like, whoa, wait, what happened? I literally just dropped them off. Well, apparently they had had their lunch, and then they were gonna go swimming. Went in with this like tealy green look color. I can't read what it says. This is fern. They had gone swimming, and apparently my youngest son had taken off his life vest and had gotten in an accident, and they had to pull him out of the water and do life-saving measures and stuff. So anyway, we just jump in her car and we head over to the facility, and by the time I got there, they already had my son in the ambulance, and I didn't even know which one of my boys. I just knew it was one of them. My youngest that was in the accident was 5 at the time. My other son was about 8 years old. And I didn't know which one of the boys. I did not know what happened. I had nobody would tell me anything. They're just like, get in the car and follow the ambulance over to the, they told us what hospital they were going to. And I didn't even know till I got to the hospital. And it was even a few minutes after I got there, because I had Child Protective Services, the police department, people from the facility, barraging me at one time, asking me questions and giving me information, and the doctors and stuff. So finally, after a few minutes, I found out which one of my boys was even there and kind of what happened. And Child Protective was asking me all these questions. I'm like, why are you asking me? They were not in my custody when this happened. They were at this daycare setting and stuff. But anyway, needless to say, it was an ordeal. He did survive, obviously, and he's fine. But at the time, I didn't know if he was going to make it and what kind of effects he was going to have from the accident. And they had to take him via ambulance up to Syracuse. I live in Binghamton, New York. They had to take him up to Syracuse at the University Hospital, where they have a better pediatric unit. And he was on, life support, and he was sedated. They wanted to keep him sedated till they could get him stable, and with him being so young, so he would not remember the traumas that much. I'm really liking this so far. So yeah, he was up there for a week, maybe a little over, while my family took care of my other son while I was up there with him. And I guess the point of talking about the story is, there were funny times, but parenting's not easy. There's also been like the challenges involved. But on a lighter note, getting back to some of the funnier times with my kids, I think I'm going to try this like mustard yellow color now. They were something else. Like some of the stories and different things. Like I remember one time I was taking a walk with my kids. It was in the summertime. It's like you have to have humor sometimes, some of the things they do, because you never know what to expect when your kids are growing. I remember we were walking across the bridge across the river here, and I had just bought the kids, my youngest was still in a stroller. I remember that because I remember I was pushing the stroller, and I had just bought like at a dollar store some sunglasses for the kids. And my older son, he's something else. Just out of nowhere, no warning or whatever, he took his sunglasses off and just threw them across the railing down the bridge into the water. And I'm like, what'd you do that for? He's like, I don't know. I said, now look, you had to walk around with no sunglasses on, and there's probably some fish down there swimming wearing your sunglasses. And he thought that was just so hilarious and stuff. And then some of the conversations we get into, it's funny the things you remember from with your kids growing up that you wouldn't think at the time would mean much. But I remember I was having a conversation with my daughter, and I have no idea how this conversation came about or anything. But we were just having a conversation about, I don't know, if you were out in the forest hiking and you had to use the bathroom. Don't ask me where these conversations come from. and you had to use the bathroom. Like, what would you use for toilet paper? And my daughter's like, oh, that's easy. I'm like, okay. She goes, you'd use the map. I said, okay. Then how would you find your way out of the forest? She said, follow the poop trail. And I'm like, I cannot with you. I can't with you. And I mean, these kids, some of the stuff they come up with. And then I remember one time I was at my mom's house, and we were sitting at the kitchen table talking, and my daughter, I don't even think I had my youngest son yet, she's on the sofa, and she's laying there, and she's looking at a magazine, she's being quiet, she's being good, and all of a sudden, she starts sneezing and sneezing. I'm like, Michelle, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, and she's sneezing and sneezing. I'm like, she's not okay. What's up with this kid? So I go in there, and the little pieces of like postcard they have in there where you can send away for an offer, she had taken a little corner off the little cardboardy paper and rolled it into a little ball and shoved it up her nose. And I'm like, Michelle, why would you do that? So I had to get tweezers, and I had to pull wads of little wadded up paper out of her nose. And I mean, I could tell stories forever, some of the things that these kids have done. They're always doing something. I mean, as teenagers, you know, they'd get home like maybe an hour or two before I did from work, and I would come home, and, you know, we've lived in this area for so long, and everybody knows everybody. So someone would tell me, oh, I saw Zachary, or he's my older son, down on such and such street around in the middle of the day doing such and such. Shouldn't he have been in school? And I'm like, yeah, actually he should have been in school. So I'd wait. I wouldn't say anything right away when I got home. I'd wait till we sat down at dinner or something. I'd say, Zach, what were you doing on such and such street around such and such time when you're supposed to be at school? And you talk about the deer in the headlights. How do you know? Don't worry about how I know. What were you doing? You know? And my older son, I mean, we laugh about it now, even though, like I said, I wasn't sure who was going to survive when they were growing up. But he used to do some stuff. He was always getting into some kind of trouble. And I know it's not like politically correct or current parenting, but yes, I did spank my children when they were growing up. I was a mother raising two sons. My daughter went to live with her father when she was about 9 years old. So it was mostly raising the boys. And they were a challenge, especially my older one. And he would always do something, and he knew he was going to get in trouble. I'm going to go in with this color. I can't read the name of it, but it looks like it's like a duochrome here. As I move it, I'm getting like a coppery color, a gold color, a greenish color. So I'm going to try to put that in the middle here and see what it looks like. So he knew he was going to get spanked or whatever. I mean, at a certain point when they got too big, obviously, I had to find other ways to discipline them and punish them and whatever. But he knew he was going to get in trouble, so he would run away. Not run away like pack bag and run away, just for at that moment, because he knew he was going to get in trouble. And I'd be like, I wouldn't chase him. I'm like, he'll be back. He's got to come back here to sleep and eat. He'll be back. So he just got in trouble when he got back. But I'm like, that's really dumb. You live here, you know. So, and then when they were a little bit younger, they had bunk beds, and they were some that you could have bunk beds, or you could take them apart into two twin beds. And at one point, I took them apart into two twin beds, and there was nothing to them. I mean, come on, they're bunk beds, cheap wood bunk beds with, you know, the flimsy little bunk bed mattresses. And he would get in trouble and run, you know, slide under the bunk bed. They weigh like 25, 30 pounds. I would just move it and get him on the other side. I'm like, got you. But oh my gosh. And then just some of the, even now as adults, sometimes I don't know. Because people are like, oh, aren't you so glad your kids are grown? I'm like, I'm not sure what's worse, when they were younger or when they're grown. At least when they were younger, I could, you know, make them go to the room or take something away. Now that they're older, it's like they do dumb stuff, and it's like it's kind of out of my hands now that they're adults. Besides telling them, it's like, that was a really dumb thing to do. But I don't know. Parenting is not for the weak. I'll say it over and over. I mean, I could tell the stories. But for the challenging things, I remember one time when my kids were young. My daughter had to be about, it was when my youngest was still a baby. So my daughter would have been about 7. Zachary would have been about 3. And Joshua was still a baby. And I remember one day I slept in. And I woke up and I looked at the alarm clock. I like that. It's really looking nice. Not really going to do too much because I'm just doing a nice, normal, everyday look. But I'm really liking this palette. I only used a few colors out of it. I mean, the colors are gorgeous. I only used like maybe 4 or 5 colors, if that. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not going to mess with a good thing and make this super long anyway. But I woke up, I looked at the alarm clock, realized it was kind of late, and I started to panic because, like I said, my youngest was still a baby. I'm like, I haven't given the baby a bottle. I haven't heard him cry. He's probably soaking wet from a diaper from all night. And I got up and I looked in the crib and no baby, and I looked in the beds and no kids. Went out to the living room. This is what the site that I walked into. I'm just going to put some face primer on. It's just this LA Colors cheap face primer, which is almost gone. I'm just going to try to use it before I open something else. But I walked in to the living room and I saw the 2 older kids sitting there side by side watching cartoons on TV with the baby in my daughter's lap, Joshua in my daughter's lap. And I'm like, here, give me him. I got to change him. I got to give him a bottle. Mommy, I already changed his diaper. I said he needs a bottle. I already fed him. And mind you, she's 7 years old at the time. I mean, they're practically just babies themselves. And I just stood there shocked, and I'm like, just wow. She's like, you were still sleeping, so we just left you sleeping. But not only did they not make noise and wake me up, not only did they not make any messes, but the 2 older ones had already eaten cereal. She had changed the baby's diaper, gave him a bottle, and they were sitting there quietly watching TV. And I was just like, I did not know what to think about. I just stood there dumbfounded for a while, and I was like, just wow. Sometimes we don't give kids enough credit. I was just, and to this day, it's still like, I think about it and I'm like, wow, that was just amazing. You know, but yeah, that wasn't a normal thing. That was just like a freak thing, because believe me, my kids would do stuff. I remember one time, I'm just going to use this AOA from Shop Miss A. It's the Perfect BB Cream. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on my face to even it up a little bit. This is the first time I used it. I just opened it today, so we'll find out together how good of a product it is. So, lost my train of thought. Oh, I remember one year. Oh, I don't know if I'm liking this. It's kind of, I don't know. I guess just because I'm used to the tinted moisturizer. I don't know. I guess it's a good match. Just not used to it. It wasn't what I was expecting. But one year, I remember a holiday, I had made dinner. My mom came over and ate dinner with us. Nothing fancy or anything like that. And for dessert, I had made a cheesecake. And I think it had like cherries or something on top. And I had a little tiny slice. My mom had a little tiny slice. So pretty much a whole cheesecake was in the refrigerator. And my older son, he was always sneaking out of bed when he was a kid and getting into something. You know, it was always, you know, you'd wake up in the morning and you would see signs of something. So he was about, I'd say 3.5 at the time, maybe. Not quite 4. And I got up in the morning and walked in the kitchen. Like I said, this was a whole cheesecake, like 2 little slices taken out. And I saw a cheesecake like on the refrigerator door, on the refrigerator handles. I was like, oh my god. So I opened the refrigerator and more of it was wiped around inside the refrigerator on the shelves and stuff. I looked at the cheesecake and the whole cheesecake was gone, except for like little crummies kind of thing. And I was like, I already knew right away because my daughter, she was pretty good. She didn't get into stuff like that. I already knew who the culprit was. And I also knew who the culprit was because not only did he eat almost all the cheesecake, but he chased it down with purple grape juice. How do I know? Because a little bit was spilled. Not bad, which was good. And I know it was him because when I, found him, he had purple grape juice around his mouth. There really wasn't much I could do. I just kind of scolded him a little bit, but I was just thinking to myself, how did he not get sick and throw up all over the place? I mean, who can eat a whole cheesecake, mind you, a 3-year-old, and chase it down with purple grape juice and not be throwing up all over? I would have such a stomach ache, but apparently it did not bother him. And I wasn't quite expecting it because it's a little bit fuller coverage than a tinted moisturizer. It's definitely not full coverage, as you can see, but a little bit more so than what I was used to. But I think it's a good match, and I'm pretty happy with it. So that's a pleasant surprise. So yeah, he was even as he got older and stuff. Yeah, the whole food thing and stuff always. I would have something saved for dinner or a meal or something, and I'd go to get it, and I'm like, oh, where did such and such go? And yeah, they'd fess up and be guilty that they ate it. I don't know how I managed to feed them when they were teenagers. I thought they were going to eat everything in the refrigerator, and sometimes even the refrigerator itself I wondered about. And then when they would have friends over on top of that, I'm like, guys, man, like, you can't eat a week's worth of groceries in one day, just so you know. I thought they tried sometimes. Sometimes I'm surprised they didn't eat the refrigerator itself. And speaking of food and the kids eating, now I'm using a concealer. It's a Maybelline Super Stay. Like I said, I'm using all kind of affordable things today. But even with the boys, I still taught them things that a lot of people would be like, oh, they're boys, why do you have to teach them that? Shouldn't that be just for daughters? No. As soon as my boys were old enough to know how to use a washer and dryer, they did their own laundry. First of all, I worked full time. I did not want my whole entire weekend being housework and everybody's laundry. You are old enough you can wash your own clothes. And besides, once they get to a certain age, they don't want mother, seeing them naked or in underwear or touching their underwear. They can do your own laundry and your dirty socks that stink to high heaven, So, and they were taught how to do a lot of like household type things. And my boys are pretty good cooks. And a lot of that's because, they're boys, they'll have girlfriends and wives. Well, not necessarily. And no offense to those of you out there raising girls, but a lot of the young ladies these days don't know how to do a lot of that stuff anyway, so the boys need to know how to do that. So experimenting with cooking and stuff, we had our little nightmares with that sometimes too. They would have friends over. Sometimes they'd have friends spend the night, and they would concoct things during the night after I went to bed to get up for work the next day. Yeah, I never knew what kind of concoctions were made during the night and what my kitchen would look like. But I remember one time they were cooking and they tried to make lasagna. Okay, here's the thing. Lasagna is kind of an effort. It takes time. Well, I had the noodles, the lasagna noodles that you don't have to cook ahead of time. You can just put them in the pan, and then the juices from your meat and cheese and all that stuff cooks the noodles. Well, they grabbed them out of the pantry, and some sauce and some cheese that I had in there, not specifically for lasagna. I did not have lasagna ingredients, but they just grabbed whatever cheese and different things. And they tried to make a lasagna in the microwave. I was like, how'd that work out for you guys? And my kitchen looked like it exploded, obviously. So yeah, that was maybe fun for them, but not for me the next morning cleaning up the mess. I think it was like on a weekend. It must have been like a Friday night, because I remember I had to get up and clean up their catastrophe. Then my youngest son, he hates when I bring this up, but it was older teen years. Like he must have been like 17 maybe, I'm thinking. And he is getting out a bottle of oil, like vegetable oil or whatever. And then he gets out the box of Pop-Tarts. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't worry, Mom, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, you sure about that? So takes the oil, gets out my like Dutch oven pan, gets the oil. He I don't know, I'm liking this concealer here. Didn't blend it out very good, but I think it'll be alright. He proceeds to, yeah, it's just the light. He proceeds to pour a bunch of oil in the Dutch oven. And I'm like, I hope you're not going to do what I think you're going to do. I wanted to deep fry a Pop-Tart. Okay, I know they deep fry Twinkies. I know they deep fry candy bars. I'm going in with a Revlon blush stick. Okay, I get that. Okay, I really get that. I'm not going to mess with bronzer or anything like that. I'm just going to blend this in a little bit. I'm loving the blush sticks. Very easy. I got a lower on one cheek than the other. That's what I get for not paying attention. I'm going with this really dense, like kabuki face brush, and see if I can blend it out a little bit. So he has the pan full of oil, and okay, they deep fry things. You know, it's the big thing, the Oreos, the Twinkies, the candy bars. Okay, but they put them in batter and fry them, right? Nope. Right into the oil, Pop-Tart. And I'm just standing by because I'm already being given the eye, like, Mom, just let me do what I want to do. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to stand back and see how this works out. We're going to see how this plays out. I know it's not going to work, but we'll see how it plays out. So, and then on top of the deep fried Pop-Tart with no batter, he didn't even wait for the oil to get hot. So, needless to say, his deep fried Pop-Tart did not turn out, and it was just a waste of some oil and Pop-Tarts. But you know, everybody's got different views on parenting. Like when my kids were younger, I admit I was kind of strict and maybe a little bit too much. My mother used to get on me about that, and I'm thinking, this lady's telling me I was too strict. Okay, you know, I'm just putting a little bit until I think I get what I want here. Not really paying attention, you can tell. But I'm thinking, yeah, this lady's telling me I'm too strict in different things. Okay, this is not the same lady that raised me, but we're all good. I love my mother dearly. I miss her. She's been gone for about 14. It'll be 14 years next month. I really do miss my mom. But kind of strict when they were younger. But when they got to be teenagers, like I said, it was a challenge, and sometimes I wasn't sure if they were going to survive or I was, but somebody wasn't going to. But we did. So when I got to be a little bit older, my parenting style was more learning from natural consequences. Like, if I tell you to bundle up, I don't feel like I have just enough color that I want, and you choose not to, and we're out somewhere, and you are cold, I'm not taking my jacket off for you, and I'm not running in the dollar store and buying you a hat and gloves or asking somebody if they have a jacket. You chose not to wear a jacket. You're cold. That's the natural consequences of your actions. Now, obviously, if it's like 5 below, I mean, come on, I'm not that cruel. But if it's not where they're going to freeze, they're just going to be uncomfortable. No, you're going to be cold. But I bet you next time when I tell you to grab a jacket, you'll grab a jacket. You know? So, and that was the same way with the Pop-Tarts. Okay, I know it's not going to work. I know you're going to waste the oil in the Pop-Tart, but I'll let you find out for yourself that it's not going to work. So, you know, every once in a while I bring it up. He's like, I never tried to deep fry a Pop-Tart. And my older son's like, yeah, Josh, you definitely did. But, yeah. Challenge, you know. My older son, I had a problem with him skipping school a lot and hanging out with the wrong crowd, and like I said, I already know. Yeah, like, come on. Now that he looks back on it, he knows it was kind of stupid. But I'd come home and I'd go, you know, before I'd even say hi or anything like that, I'd be like, what'd you get suspended for? Deer in headlights. What'd you get suspended for? You know, like, I'm so stupid, like they didn't already call me, you know. Even just because I was at work doesn't mean I didn't know. But yeah, the things they would do. I mean, like I said, we had our share of screaming matches. Seems like my kids were always into something and getting punished for something or disciplined or something being taken away, because they were always doing something, you know. And sometimes I would even question if I was being too harsh or too mean, but it wasn't my job to be their friend. It was my job to be their mother. And then I would look at, maybe it's not up to me to tell other people how to raise their kids either, but I would have friends that their kids were doing worse things than my kids. And I had a friend mention once about, I'm using this e.l.f. highlighter. It's kind of creamy. I think I'm just gonna like kind of tap it in with my fingers at first and see if that works. I haven't used this one yet, but her kid's calling her out a name and stuff like that. And she told me once, oh, her son was a couple years younger than my youngest, I think, a few years younger than. And she would tell me, oh, my son called me this, or my son said this. And I'm like, yeah, and what did you do? And she would just look at me. And she's like, well, nothing. I'm like, well, then you bought that. Well, do your kids ever do that? I said, they still have teeth, right? You know, and I don't want to sound like I'm a terrible person when I say that, but my kids just knew that there were certain lines that you don't cross. And no, I did not beat on my kids. I mean, I would nag them half to death sometimes, but they just knew. They would challenge and they would push the limits, but they just knew where that line was. And even to this day, you know, when we talk about them growing up, you know, they acknowledge that they, you know, we knew how far we could go. And like I said, parenting is not for the weak by any means. And I really had a lot of concerns when my kids were growing up because we had so many trials. And sometimes I even ask myself, you know, some of the stuff they do even now that frustrate me, you know, where did I go wrong? I didn't go wrong. They have their issues and they still frustrate me on occasion, but overall they're pretty good kids. They really are. I'm not getting calls from jail. I'm not getting calls that they did this, that, or the other. When they were teenagers, yeah, I got a few calls, the shoplifting and picking them up from. I remember one time my son got drunk with this other kid and they ended up at the ER at a local hospital. I had to go pick him up because he was intoxicated and an adult had to go. They did things. And that's why the point I'm trying to get to is, like I said, you know, with turning 51 and my kids getting older and stuff like that, I'm just going to go on with this Steve Laurent liner. It's like a little tan with a little bit of a shimmer in it. And just go under my lower lashes a little bit. Basically, like I said, with getting ready to turn 51 and then and it not bothering me, and then with the kids getting older and their numbers climbing is what makes me feel old. But the thing is, we all survive. And yeah, as kids are growing up, whether they're young and doing things, you know, I had my little escape artist where I had to keep putting locks on the door because they would sneak out and be doing stuff. And then as teenagers, anybody that's raised a teenager knows that it's like being a zookeeper and that they eat everything and anything. Is that we all make it through it okay. You know, I mean, maybe some better than others, but it may seem like the worst period of time when you're dealing with it, but you get through it. And you know, but I think back on it and I can, like I said, I can laugh now. At the time I was definitely not laughing. This is Rimmel London mascara. It's called Shake It Fresh. I tried this for the first time a few days ago and I fell in love with it. I love it. I got it at the bargain bin store for $1 and it's really good stuff. But yeah, wasn't laughing then. I can laugh now, but I wasn't laughing then. And that's one good thing about when you have adult children, that they understand things differently. And especially with my older son being a parent himself now, My grandson's 6. I mean, he's still young, but they look at things a lot different, and they have a different understanding of why things were a certain way when they were growing up. They thought I was the most evil woman on the face of the earth now, and now they kind of understand. They're like, we kind of deserved a lot of this stuff, but it's all good. I mean, I will have to admit, I miss a lot of the things when my kids were young, and I try to tell people with young kids, don't take any of it for granted, because they grow up so fast. And at the time, I was so busy working and raising them and had so many responsibilities. I wish I realized that more when they were younger and appreciated the younger days, because there's certain things I do miss, like some of the funny things they would do, and even some of the stuff that I wasn't laughing about then, I even a few days later could get the humor in it. But I'll have to admit, I'm really, even now that they can be a headache, they come shopping at my house all the time. It's Mom Mart, where everything is free 99, as my son lets me know all the time. I just want to say, this mascara is excellent. It claims clump free on the packaging, and it is. I used it the other day. Usually I have to go in with a spoolie and like break up some clumps and separate my lashes. With this, I do not. And it glides on so effortlessly. This stuff is wonderful. I got 3, 1 for me and 2 for giveaways, but I'm rethinking the 2 for giveaways. Not really. I still put them in giveaways because this stuff's awesome. But if I go and they have more, I'm definitely buying more. But yeah, I appreciate my kids as adults, because your relationship is so much different, you know what I mean? And it's like when they're growing up, when they're little kids, they love you, mommy, 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 mommy. When they get to be teenagers, it's like you're mortal enemies. But then once they become adults, you become more friends again. There's a totally different understanding and appreciation. And I don't want to get into it because it could be a whole video on itself. I have a tattoo on my back I got about 4 years ago, and I had the concept in mind, brought together some pictures, some drawings and different things, and explained to my sister what I wanted, and she incorporated all the elements into one. And it's a koi fish, like an orangey gold koi fish, with cherry blossoms and 3 lotus flowers, 3 purple lotuses. And the koi fish is swimming upstream, and there's water, you know, some splashes and waves of water. Now, the koi fish is a symbol of good luck. The fact that it's gold is supposed to represent money. That's not really holding true. It's not bringing me luck money-wise, but when you have a koi fish tattoo, the direction that it's swimming is symbolic. If it is swimming upstream, that means you are struggling with something or trying to overcome something. And even though I'm not trying to overcome anything in particular, I feel like life is always presents a struggle of some sort that we're trying to work through. So it's swimming upstream. Also, the cherry blossoms are just a symbol of femininity, so I have them incorporated. The waves, I forget the exact symbolism right off the top of my head, because it's been a while and stuff, and I don't think that much on it. But there is symbolism to that. And the lotus flowers, there's a reason I picked lotuses, not only because they go with the koi fish and the whole theme of it, but there's also a reason for that. There's 3 of them, and each of the lotus flowers represents my 3 kids. Lotus flowers, there's a symbolism, because if you think about it, lotus flowers and water lilies grow in swampy, marshy, yucky kind of water. And basically, it's the symbolism that something so beautiful can grow in such a yucky like environment. And not that I'm saying like my kids are yucky, but it's the thing that no matter what goes on around them, like life circumstances or environment, you know, they can still bloom into something beautiful. I also picked the color purple for a specific reason too, that there's, each color that you can make a lotus flower has a different symbolism, and I chose purple because purple lotuses represent mystery. And like I said, with the 3 of them representing my 3 kids, and choosing purple. Oh, this is brighter than I thought it was going to be. This is from Shop Miss A too. It's an AOA matte lipstick, and I think this color, I think I looked at it before, it was can't remember. Can't remember right now, but it's way bright, but that's okay because I'm gonna put gloss over it. Where was in my thought process? Oh, the mystery in the lotus flowers is that because when you give birth and you hold that child for the first time, you do not know. I'm gonna have to tone this down. I'm just gonna take a makeup wipe and tone it down a little bit. Take some off. When you look at that child for the first time, you do not know what that little person is going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So to me, a new life is just that. It's a sense of mystery. Like, what is this little person going to evolve into? So that's the thing with the lotus flowers. So to get off on a tangent, that's what that was all about. The most significant thing to me in the tattoo is the lotus flowers because the symbolism involved. That lipstick, and I just went in with my Galactic Rose lip gloss, is wow. But I just literally took the plastic off the liquid lip today, so I wasn't sure what to expect. Because looking at the packaging, I thought it was going to be like this color, not this color. But it's okay, because it'll fade. It's okay. So anyway, I yacked while I threw some stuff on my face. Aside from the lips being super bright, and yes, please, you can fade. Like if I like the color, it fades. If I don't, this will probably last all day. But it's okay. I'll work with it. But anyway, this is what I came up with as I chatted about the challenges of parenthood and feeling old as you see your kids getting older. And nothing great or wonderful, but I'm only literally baking cookies for my son and then fixing dinner later, so didn't have to be anything fancy. I just wanted to really try out this palette because it's beautiful, and I can see a lot of looks being made with this because, again, look at those colors, and I only touched a few of them. Really loving it. I think this is definitely going to become a favorite. So anyway, for those of you who have watched the video and listened to me yak about my kids, believe me, that's only a few stories. There's a lot more. But I just wanted to chat about something while I put the makeup on and shared it with you guys, and just kind of spend a little bit of time with you guys. I don't anticipate a huge viewing for this or a lot of watch time, but for those of you that like a little glimpse into my life and like listening to me run off at the mouth about things, I appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day today to watch, even if you didn't watch the whole thing. So until next time, bye everyone. I hope you're enjoying your weekend and having a wonderful Father's Day, and I'm going to try to spend some time with my son today when he gets home from work for his birthday. He's a really good kid. Love him a lot. Love all my kids a lot. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.